Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, so welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we're going to be reading from the 6th canto Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 4, verse 43. So this chapter is actually entitled Prescribed Duties for Mankind. Okay, so I'll read through the Sanskrit. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Pachitasa Mahabhaga Samsidas Tapasa Bhavan Yakshadaya Yat Paraya Mai Bhavam Paramgata. Okay. Oh, you got it? You got it there? Okay, cool. Okay. I'll chant and you can respond then. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prachitasa Mahabhaga Samsidas Tapasa Bhavan Yakshadaya Matparaya Ayi Bhavam Param Kataha. Anyone like the chant? You want to give it a go? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prachitasa Mahabhaga Samsidas Tapasa Bhavan Yakshadaya Matparaya Mayi Bhavam Param Kataha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prachitasa Mahabhaga Samsidas Tapasa Bhavan Yakshadaya Matparaya Mayi Bhavam Param Kataha. Okay, word for word translation. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Prachetasa, my dear Prachetas, Mahabhaga, O you who are so fortunate, Samsiddha, perfected, Tapasa, by your austerities, Bhavan, your good self, Yat, because, Shradaya, by great faith, Matparaya, whose object is me, Mayi, in me, Bhavam, ecstasy, Param, supreme, Gataha, attained. Okay, translation. Supreme Personality of God had said, O most fortunate Prachetas, because of your great faith in me, you have attained the supreme devotional ecstasy. Indeed, because of your austerities, combined with exalted devotion, your life is now successful. You have achieved complete perfection. Purport. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. There's actually a verse before this. There's a verse before this with no purport. So let me at least read the verse. So text 42 says, although Prajapati Daksha could not say anything, when the Lord, who knows everyone's heart, saw his devotee prostrate in that manner, and desiring to increase the population, he addressed him as follows. Okay. And then today's verse. I'll read it again. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O most fortunate Prachetasa, because of your great faith in me, you have attained the supreme devotional ecstasy. Indeed, because of your austerities, combined with exalted devotion, your life is now successful. You have achieved complete perfection. Purport. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 8:15, one reaches the highest perfection when he attains the fortune of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mama Bhakti Punar Janma Tukalayam Asasvatam Nabdavanti Mahatmana Samsirim Paramam Gataha. Who, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. End quote. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement teaches one to follow the path toward the topmost perfection simply by performing devotional service. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshu Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakujatan Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitam Cha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all for joining for today's class. Nice to have everyone here. So short report, but try to make something out of it. So it said that by regular attendance in this class on Srimad Bhagavatam, and all that is troublesome within the heart is almost completely vanquished, and pure loving service to God is established. So anyone has anything troublesome in their heart? No, nothing troublesome in your heart. Well, okay, all right. Congratulations, that's very nice. Okay. Yeah, so in this verse, I want to focus on this word perfection. So of course we know to be perfect is like to be like no one's perfect, right? No, yeah. If we see someone who is perfectionist, that means they try very hard, try to get every little thing right. But we all know that ultimately we all fall short of this perfection. But we know the definition of perfection is like to do something perfect 100%. So we have this common term in the Hare Krishna movement we even have a book, it's called The Perfection of Yoga. And sometimes, like you'll be doing something like playing a drum and someone will say, that's the perfection of playing a drum. Or like, we're all sitting here, someone will say that the perfection of sitting here is, this is the perfection of sitting here. And ultimately what that's meaning is that the best use of playing the drum, best use of sitting, as long as you're engaged in the process of loving service to God in an authorized way, then whatever you're doing is the perfection of that. And so the imperfection of that would be, if I take this to a nightclub, or if we're sitting around at like I was in New York and I was reminded about the hookah bars. I saw the hookah bar. So they sit around and, so that would not be the perfection of sitting, would be going to a hookah bar. Because ultimately these activities are not, they're taking us away from the ultimate goal of life instead of bringing us towards it. So by doing things in service to the Lord, that's the perfection of gardening, perfection of cooking, perfection of drumming, sitting, all that. So we know, yes, so we are very fortunate. Congratulations if you've taken to the path of bhakti with some faith. That means you are on the path of perfection. So like one Swami said that on the first day that someone comes and like joins the temple, that person has already surpassed all the yogis, all the best businessmen, all the best everything, because they've come and they've aligned themselves with this righteous path. So congratulations. If you have taken to this process with some faith, that means you are actually the most, you're on the path to perfection. You found the path, which many people unfortunately can't say. And so anyways, okay. So we know that this is the perfect process, the perfect path to ultimately achieve perfection. Perfection meaning ultimately becoming a pure lover of God. And as we see in this verse, Prabhupada's quoting that after you attain him, then you never have to come back to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because you have attained the highest perfection. So there's a very interesting sentence here. After Prabhupada quotes this verse, he's saying, therefore, the Krishna conscious movement teaches one to follow the path toward, keyword, toward the topmost perfection, simply by performing devotional service. So even though we know we know what perfection is, and we're on this path to perfection, we might have we might have some personal shortcomings in this regard. Like I was just thinking, the process, the main way to attain God realization in this age is to get together and chant the names of the Lord, play music and all that. Not a bad process, if you ask me. Just like last night, what we were doing. So that what we were doing last night was actually the way to attain love of God for this current age. But I was thinking, okay, but what if one has like social anxiety and they're like, I don't want to go there. There's so many people. You have like, social anxiety. So you just typically want to avoid such places, such gatherings. And now we hear that, okay, it's only by going to such gatherings that you can actually attain love of God. So on this path, we may have many, we may have many shortcomings that actually impede us from attaining this path of perfection. And we can all actually analyze ourselves and see these imperfections. I guess I can relate to the social anxiety one, because I was like, yesterday I was like, I really don't feel like seeing anyone right now. I just feel like seeing, my four walls, maybe my little plant in my room, but that's about it. So we have these imperfections. So that's why actually the path toward perfection is not just like, it's not just getting together and doing this. Like if someone asked you, can you sit in this room and chant all day? Would you be able to do that? Chant all day, yeah. Like just you can't leave. Of course you can use the bathroom, but you have to just sit in this room and chant all day. No, it would be very difficult. So that's why we've been given actually many other like corollary activities to become Krishna conscious and to ultimately assist us in being able to do like the main thing, just getting together and chanting like that. So by the ultimately by the arrangement of Krishna, Krishna has set up these different systems to assist us in becoming God conscious. So, like one of those, for example, like yoga. I heard yoga was actually first established so that the kings, the kings who were used to a lot of physical exercise, then they would actually be able to sit down and do their meditation in a peaceful, because even just to sit down, you want to sit, to get the most out of your yoga practice, it's recommended to sit down, back straight, legs crossed, like that. But most of us, after 20 minutes, we're like, oh, my hips hurt, my knees hurt. So the yoga practice is recommended in order to be able to concentrate one's mind, for example. Then, like when Prabhupada was first here, he was seeing, oh man, all these followers I have, they're very restless. Like they can't just sit. Prabhupada actually, he wanted us to chant 64 rounds at first. That's 8 hours of just chanting Hare Krishna. And then his followers were like, no, that Prabhupada, sorry, Prabhupada, we don't know if that's possible. So then he went down to 32 and then went down to 16, said that's it. And then, so Prabhupada said, I've created so many different activities so that, pretty much so that our restless minds can still be engaged in Krishna service. So one of those things was book distribution. He's called it like a transcendental scheme or something. So a transcendental scheme to get us to be able to do something, walk around, talk to people, having like kind of if you were into like kind of mischievous activities, all right, great. You go in a mall. Like I remember one devotee in LA, he would be distributing books in the mall. And then first, when the security guard came and told him he couldn't do it, then he would go to the other side of the mall. Then when another security guard caught him, then okay, he would go to a different floor in the mall. And then when they caught him there, then he would go in the parking lot. So in this way, it's pretty bold, Usually if you tell someone to leave, they're like, okay, fine, I'll leave, But this devotee was like, okay, I'll just go to the other side of the mall and like that. So if you're if you have that tendency towards like, getting in some mischief, like some suspense, hiding from security guards and stuff like that. Okay, perfect. Get some books and go out and, get in some mischief and hopefully distribute a few books in the process. So Prabhupada created all these things like that, these assisting activities. So one of those, so one of those one of the activities that he very much was very fond of and stressed very much was actually these farm projects. So there's so many quotes Prabhupada saying, if you live in the city, it's just like, dirt everywhere, people, I'm trying to find. But anyways, I think we all kind of know what the city is like and how it's sometimes not the best for our spiritual life. So many distractions, so many, billboards telling you to, the opposite of what the Bhagavatam is telling you to do. So like that. And just the fast pace that living in the city kind of like requires is not the best for our spiritual life. So there's this word ugra karma, which means like over endeavor. So there's a quote Prabhupada said, okay, if you're gonna work, don't work more than 8 hours, because it's very intense. Like imagine working, like people have a hard time even just working, right? Just maintaining a job. Now you gotta work, you gotta chant, you gotta raise, you gotta like have time for your spouse, and they throw kids in the picture. It's like, my God, it's a lot. That's a lot to do. And unfortunately, when you got to pay the bills and all that, then usually probably one of the first things to go is our like chanting, our spiritual practice. So like even Seth, I think you were telling me you gotta chant quickly. You gotta chant not quickly. You gotta chant your rounds in the morning, because in the day, just bombarded with all sorts of things. So it's so like that. It's very it's tough for our spiritual life to live in such situations. So ultimately, that's why Prabhupada was so big on these farm projects. Yeah, so we could saying, okay, yeah, come, live self-independent and make time for chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah. Be satisfied with simple living. If you get milk, if you get fruit, if you get grain and open air, it is very healthy. Why should not be attractive? Why should they not? Why they should not be attractive? Yeah. Oh, and Yogeshwar says, it is still the beginning, and because it is the beginning, it is very difficult sometimes. It is a little difficult sometimes. And Prabhupada's saying, yeah, that may be true, but this should be our aim. So, yes, the world is very, it's a very chaotic place, and it's amazing that, yeah, on this way to perfection, Prabhupada gave us so many like corollary activities and projects to do, which will assist us in our spiritual life. So for example, I was thinking about, because these hurricanes and stuff, and it's kind of like, just makes you think about, all the kind of climate change and all that. And because someone was even telling me like that they went to the ocean, they were like, the water is just like warm now. It was never like that before, but it's just warm. So like that, things are changing like that. And as if things can continue in this way, it's just going to get harder and harder, right? Imagine, yeah, how chaotic for your life if your house blows away, or house gets flooded. That's very hard. So if things get too chaotic, then it'll be very hard to have spiritual life. It'll be very hard to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. So yeah, but we've been given such a perfect process that I'm trying to lead up to this point. I'm just going to say it. The oxen, yeah, the oxen are very very beneficial. Like this idea of gas, oil, even electric cars now, it's like there's no good way to do these things, like a car. Sorry, there's no nice way to have a car, because okay, oil, we know what the oil is doing, not to speak of the environmental effects, like just all the wars that are caused over it. And then, like in the Bhagavatam, we see that by too much extraction of the oil, the earth actually got out of tilt, and I believe it even fell down into the ocean, like the cosmic universal ocean. So oil, all these wars are happening, and then of course all the carbon is being burnt up in the atmosphere. And then, okay, but we have a solution, electric cars. But now, you just do a little research and you can see that all this mining and all this lithium extraction, and then, it's totally exploiting people. Yeah, just killing these killing off these like civilizations. There's no beneficial way to do it. So that's the thing. So we think that, oh, by this, modernizing technology, we think that we're just like taking off the burden from our shoulder. But just like on a scale, okay, take off the burden somewhere, take off the burden off the scale, but then, somewhere else has to feel that burden. So we think, okay, we can make our life so much easier, but because of the laws of nature, by making our lives easier, what are we doing? We're actually making other people's lives harder. Like, okay, great. I can go to Walmart, get this shirt for $5. Wonderful, no problem. Of course, probably won't last very long. But what, for you to get that cheap $5 shirt, someone in another country is just being completely exploited. So yeah, so it's very nice. Like, I notice what the Amish do, they take the whole burden, they take it on themselves. So like, okay, we have to plow a field. So instead of, okay, I just pay some money, get a tractor, it seems like less burden to you, but you're not thinking about all the other things that are being burdened, the earth, the wars, all that. So instead of like, burdening other people for this, you take it on yourself. Okay, I guess I got like 5 acres of field to plow. I'm going to be here all day, maybe a few days, and I'm going to be, working my oxen or my horse. And yeah, it's going to be very hard. Like one time we went to this auction, and there was like a field there, and this guy was plowing his field. And then we noticed he could go like, he'd only go like, whatever, 10 minutes or so, and then you'd have to stop. Go 10 minutes and have to stop. And then so he noticed we were looking at him, and he said, yeah, these horses, they're not like tractors. They need a break every once in a while. So it takes, it's a long process. And generally we think, okay, why would I want to take so long to do something like that? But the burden is going somewhere. Yeah. So it's very, yes. So not only are we burdening the earth, burdening other people in different parts of the world, but also by engaging in these, uber karma, unnecessary activities, we're actually even burdening our own selves. Because, like now with these phones, like it's like every like 5 minutes, you got to check your phone, you got a ding coming up on your phone. It's like, it's just constant. You're just like, we become like servants to these phones. Like every second we're just having to check on like that. And, we can only imagine the effects that it's having on our consciousness. Or like, sometimes if you start feeling depressed or angry, it's like, oh, let me just scroll through something, and let me just take my mind off, scroll on the news, whatever, scroll some headlines or go on Facebook. But then, yeah, we're just exposing ourselves to unbeneficial content, instead of just like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way right now. Let me process, like, why am I feeling like this? What are my values? What are my needs that aren't being met that are making me feel this way? Instead of just like trying to bury it by scrolling. So ultimately, yeah, these things are this new way of life is ultimately harming us on in so many ways. And then the food we're eating, like I guess part of my algorithm now is recalls. So now I'm just getting all these things about like this is recall, that's recall, you know, something is found in like we know a few years back that the baby formula had become contaminated. Now cinnamon, cinnamon. How are you how are you supposed to live without cinnamon? Well, apparently there's lead in the cinnamon, so best you go without it. Um, so like this, so there's so many contaminations like that. So this is why, yeah, these it's amazing that Prabhupada knew this, had this insight, and was really stressing to us, like, establish these farm projects, like farm. Live this natural way of life. Use the oxen, plow, use the oxen to plow the land. Don't, it's just crazy. Don't contribute to this degradation of the environment. And yeah, but so Prabhupada gave us like so many different. Prabhupada gave us the perfect way of life to lead us to ultimate perfection. Of course, one has to also keep focused. Like, one can get so into oxen that they forget that they, forget the whole what the reason that they're doing this is for. So we definitely don't want that. Like, there's the story, someone's on a boat, and then the guy, like the sophisticated guy on the boat, he's asking the boatman, like, do you know about, cryptocurrency? And the guy's like, no. And he's like, oh, 25% of your life is wasted. And then the sophisticated guy's like, do you know about whatever? Whatever. Do you know about the new robots? And then the simple boatman says no. Says, okay, 50% of your life is wasted. So it goes on like that, like you don't know about this, you don't know about that, like your whole life is wasted. How do you not know about this? And then the boat starts sinking. And then the simple boatman, he asks the sophisticated guy, he says, do you know how to swim? And then the sophisticated guy says, no. And the boatman says, okay, 100% of your life is wasted. So in the same way, yeah, in all our endeavors that we take up, even if they are, in the pursuit of like this spiritual revolution in the world, if we don't keep our focus that, what it's all for, then that's also a waste. That's a waste of our life. We have to. So how does one do that? Yeah, daily attendance in Bhagavatam class, reading, chanting. I like one sannyasi, I recently heard him say that if you just keep chanting your 16 rounds, if you just at least just hold on to that, then you'll be like, you'll be safe in your spiritual life. Because yeah, by chanting those 16 rounds, there's some clarities there in our consciousness, and then we can guide our life, based on that clarity. But of course, yeah, very important to read, keep our intelligence up like that. Do like congregational chanting of the holy name, getting together, chanting Krishna's names, the Maha Mantra like that. It's all very important to keep our focus. So yeah, so in summary, we have the perfection of life. We know what the perfection of life is, to attain, unalloyed love of God. And in order to achieve that perfection, then we've actually been given a perfect lifestyle, vegetarian, offering all our food, like that simple, ideally simple agriculture lives, Varnashram Dharma, like that. Like, I can't believe it. In Dhruva's class, like, he was saying how it's like, yeah, now you can identify, you can say, you can be in second grade or something and say, I want to identify as like a girl or boy, no matter what you're born with. And now they've taken it as far as I identify as an animal. Like, I'm a little happy that happened, because it shows how ridiculous this, like, just being able to, self-proclaim what you are. It's like, okay, I'm a unicorn. And why can you not tell me? You can't tell me, because by your logic, I could say I'm a boy or girl, even though I wasn't born in that way. So why can't I say I'm a unicorn? So sorry, teacher, I'm gonna crawl around on all fours, whatever. I don't know why I said that, but yeah. So Prabhupada gave us all these perfect ways to attain perfection, and all these things are necessary, actually. Like, yeah, it's necessary to raise good kids so that they won't have social anxiety, so they can come into kirtan and enjoy it like this. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, if any questions or comments. Okay, I think there's a quote. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Tarka Prabhu wrote this quote that we also heard recently. It is more beneficial to cultivate the field and water plants for the service of all Vaishnavas than to inattentively pull beads hundreds and thousands of times. The result of serving the Vaishnavas is genuine taste for the holy name. Oh. Okay. Anyone have anything they'd like to say? Questions, comments, reflections? If not, I'll take Gargari's question for them. Gari Krishna Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yep, yes.
Thank you very much for an insightful class. I really appreciated the point on how basically, modern civilization is just shifting the burden. And then the opposite to that with Vedic civilization is that for people following the Varna properly, like with citing the Amish, they take all the responsibility of that field of activity.
That's better.
As opposed to, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As opposed to shifting the responsibility to somebody else to do it. So my question relates to, Varna. And we know Prabhupada had said that if you don't worship the deities properly, then that becomes burdensome. So could you extrapolate that point to say, devotees the argument that, okay, in following Varnashram Dharma, we do it on the order of the Guru Parampara. So a Vaishnava accepts the occupation of a Vaishya, or or Kshatriya, just to set an example. So now we see that the Parampara, basically on the strength of that, or how it works is that basically the Vaishnava who's trying to execute the order of the spiritual master outside of their natural Varna is taking on a responsibility, and it can be a bit burdensome, to like function outside of your natural propensity. So why is it that in devotional service, taking on the burden of functioning outside of your Varna doesn't create as many, it basically becomes a cause of liberation for you, and it doesn't create problems, for the rest of the world.
Can you repeat? It becomes a cause of what?
So my question is that we see that people.
No, I know. I got most. I got most of it.
Yeah. So my question is, why is it that functioning outside of your, taking on the burden and the responsibility of functioning outside of your Varna, why does that burden is the cause of liberation, and then we see that other people functioning, just basically functioning, operating a demonic civilization, they create burdens for others, and that is the cause of bondage.
Okay. So if we take on the burden of engaging in an occupation that is against our nature, well, I have to say, since I've been reading Urmila's book about career dharma, I'll have to, so in this book, she's saying that one sentence she says that really struck me was, if one is engaged in an occupation that is against their natural, proclivity, even if one is having success, even if one has so much training in that area, she's saying that the recommendation that we are giving as writers of this book is that you actually give up that occupation and move to an occupation that is more in line with your, natural proclivities. Even if one is older, even if one, like I said, is trained like this. And then she's saying that this would be the best thing for you, and actually the whole world also, because there's a whole section in the book, like the problems that happen if one is engaged in an occupation outside of their natural proclivity. So it's it is very important. It's very important for ourselves. She even says that a lot of the problem in our spiritual life is actually just because we're engaged in something that's not according to our nature. I know that's not exactly what your question was. You were, but I've just been reading this book, and I think it is quite fascinating. Is it on the same topic? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, because whenever anyone with GD goes, that seminar in Wellington, it was like the last Q&A, and somebody asked about activities that everybody's encouraged to do as devotees, that seems like occupational, for example, like prasadam distribution, or maybe like deity worship with all of that, or book distribution, something like that. And she just said one thing, she's like, oh, that's I don't think she said those are transcendental activities, but something like, oh yeah, well that's something like that it's like not included or something, but she just said that, and then like there's no further discussion. So I'm wondering in your reading, like, you have any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't. But I did hear one thing, interesting thing recently. One devotee was saying that a guru, he was saying that even preaching, some people are preachers and some people are not. Like, we might think, okay, everyone should be like a preacher, be able to like take people aside and explain the philosophy and guide them. Like, we think, oh yeah, we're all preachers, it's a Sankirtan mission. But this, according to this devotee, he was saying, no, that's for those people who are inclined in that way, which is something that we don't always hear. Okay, Tarka Prabhu, maybe it's Tarka.
All right, good job. Thank you for doing really nice jobs. I'm impressed with your realizations about simply reading great subject matter. We spoke a long time about that. With regards to Varnashram Dharma, I
I can't hear you. There's like a lot of background noise.
It's
okay, let me try something else then. One moment. Turn off the Prabhupada here. How is that?
Yeah, that's good.
Much better, thank you.
Okay. I actually disagree with Irma. I haven't read her book. We've had a few disagreements from time to time. We respect one another, but sometimes we disagree. She says that, well, that should be expected because we're all individuals. But with regards to Varnashram Dharma, there are different stages of a person's progress in spiritual life. Early in one's spiritual life, it may be appropriate to work strictly within the parameters of Varnashram Dharma. You're going to do it anyway. But whether you want to or not, you're going to follow your nature, Krishna says. But at some stage, you are expected to progress beyond those designations. And that's Krishna's instruction. It's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja, abandon all varieties of religion. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Krishna is talking about, among other things, Varnashram Dharma. All these things have to be abandoned. Krishna says, simply surrender unto me. How do we surrender to Krishna? We surrender to Krishna by surrendering to our spiritual master, the representative of Krishna. So our focus ultimately must be that we simply surrender to our spiritual master, and with no regard for Varnashram Dharma. We follow Varnashram Dharma as far as possible for the sake of setting an example for others, particularly for the non-devotees. Srila Prabhupada specifically said Varnashram Dharma is especially for the non-devotees. When Srila Prabhupada came to Gita Nagari, and this contrasts starkly with Hare Krishna Dasi's book on Varnashram Dharma. She was fixed on the concept of Varnashram Dharma, and she conflated Varnashram Dharma with farm projects, without understanding why Srila Prabhupada sometimes talked about Varnashram in connection with farm projects. It's because in a village setting, it's easy to establish Varnashram Dharma and not otherwise. But when Srila Prabhupada came to Gitanagari, he gave us specific instruction. He never once mentioned Varnashram Dharma. What he did stress was simple living as Krishna lives, a complete rejection of Ugra karma, a complete rejection of all the modern amenities and comforts, and living very, very simply just as Krishna lived. And he wanted Gitanagari to set that example for the world, an example of how to live an ideal life. But he didn't talk about Varnashram Dharma. That was a non-issue. No mention of Varnashram Dharma. So there's that. Anyway, whether one surrenders to Krishna via the spiritual master, or whether one follows the tenets of Varnashram Dharma, it will be beneficial for society either way. Acting capriciously without following any authority, that's going to be a problem. But to surrender to Krishna, either directly or through the media of the spiritual master, is superior to following Varnashram Dharma. Anyway, I hope that's clear. It's late. I should stop. Hare Krishna.
It's very clear, Prabhu. Thank you.
They're gonna float soon. Thank you very much. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada jai.